Welcome to Locking It In with Deb and Per. We are doing our updates for the end of May.
My name is Perrin Walker. This is Deborah Walker.
I'm a licensed realtor.
I'm a licensed loan officer. We're licensed in Washington State. We can be reached at 253-226-6454.
We work together to help buyers and sellers find the right solutions for their lives. And we bring this to you every week. We will be having a live Q&A coming up shortly. If you want to be in on that, or if you have questions you want addressed on our program, you can let us know in the notes or send us a message, and we will talk about it on our program. Thank you. April was an interesting month in the United States as well as in the Pierce County area. Sales did drop a bit, about 2.7%, and that is because of the state of the inventory, which has been at record lows. And in fact, it's been a little, I think the inventory's been better in the upper end market.
Right. In fact, the upper end market has come alive.
Yeah. You know what it is? People are staying at home all the time. They're working at home and they want a lot more comfort where they're working and living and playing. And you can really see that. As of April 23rd in Pierce County, there were 112 sales of properties over $1 million.
Which is a big increase.
Yes. The highest priced property sold was in Gig Harbor. That was $3,450,000. Sold in 6 days. That was $250,000 over the list price. Incidentally, Gig Harbor is one of the fastest growing areas in that market. Gig Harbor seems to, we all know Gig Harbor's a well-off area.
It's one of the nicer markets in Pierce County. There's also University Place. Lakewood has some good neighborhoods, Stillicum and Puyallup.
And this particular property, I might point out, had a waterfront view, but no actual frontage. I'm going to pay that much money. I want to be on the water. Even though home sales dropped in April, it's a little bit disconcerting to realize that about a quarter of all the single family homes sold were purchased by individual investors. They were generally all cash. A huge percentage of them were second-time home buyers. They were buying their second home. So you have equity. It's essentially, if you have equity, you can get a house. And if you can't, save your pennies. But it's going to get better, yes.
Putting a lot of money down is, there are a few lenders. I have one, for example, that will do a loan without an appraisal if you put a large down payment down.
Really? So you can skip the appraisal?
Yes. In some cases, it's a case by case thing, but this lender, nearly 50% of their loans that they do are without an appraisal, with appraisal waived.
I think that's a safe bet in a lot of cases because the house is fairly standard, and unless there's something that's going to show a red flag. If it does have a red flag, the buyer's going to notice it too.
Well, if you're putting 50% down, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, you've already bought the equity, so you don't have to be as picky about it. The appraisal doesn't matter quite so much because even if you're off on the equity.
So it's pretty generous of the lender to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have to do that.
I think it's unnecessary to do an appraisal because they know it's going to be worth more than what the loan amount is.
Right. That's true. That's true.
And it's a credit-worthy buyer, or they wouldn't have that much money.
And most of these houses are not brand new. They've got a good history of being worth a lot. There are some reasons that it is a make sense deal.
In Washington State, a lot of the rural counties, the places are farther to drive, Sultan, Carnation.
Even rural Pierce County.
Really rural places.
Graham,
Darrington, Gold Bar. Yeah, that's not very rural. But
Roy, Yelm. Yeah, that's Thurston County, of course, but
prices are going up considerably, 15% higher in Carnation. Snohomish County in general, Snohomish County maybe 10% higher. These people are driving from the city so they can get a lot more house for their money, a lot of quiet and privacy, as well as people moving here from California and other high-tax states. We have people leaving Washington for other states as well, maybe to go live with their parents who are aging in another state. I see trends that people are not just moving because of price, but because of a whole different way of looking at their lives.
The fact that people can work from home more than they ever were able to before a year ago. that opens up a lot of new markets, more rural properties, being that they don't have to commute to the office every day.
And when you don't, firstly, you want single family as opposed to multifamily, and you want land, you want more space.
Absolutely.
And that's hard to find if you go into the city, the more urban areas, the lots.
And it's
are
very expensive
small.
in the cities to get more land.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
Yeah. And you might also have
although-
HOAs in addition to your mortgage and higher taxes, everything.
And you're more, it's more personal. It seems like it's more personal. You're more on your own if you're in
And you
a
know
more
your
rural
neighbors, even
property.
if they live 10 miles away,
Right.
because it takes farther to get everywhere. It would be nice to live in a rural community like that. I used to want to live in a place like that. Now, not so much, because I really would rather have public transportation, get on a train and go anywhere. I'd rather live somewhere more
But
accessible.
the way it is with the living situation today, even if you live in the city, no matter where you live, you need a car. That means that it's probably more likely that you may want to live rurally.
If I have to drive, I would much rather live in a rural area. I mean, I don't drive generally, but in the rural areas, it's not the same experience as driving in the city either. It might be a lot easier for me to manage in that kind of environment. The slower traffic, the wide open spaces. As things open up more and more, people are going to start listing their homes. And I predict in the next few months, the inventory is going to get a ton better.
That's predicted not just by you, but by many experts, that in the fall, things will open way up, and it will continue in that regard. So with interest rates still probably going to be still very low, the market could explode in the autumn.
In particular, we'll see, I think even now, we'll see some of the eviction moratoriums ending. Some of the forbearance, I'm not sure how that works, if those will start exiting and cause a cascade of people needing to sell their home.
Most forbearance programs are for like 3 months or 6 months, not longer than that. They will end soon if they haven't already.
And a seller who might be able to predict that coming may already be considering listing their home if they can't manage the payments after that. And I'm not sure how many people that applies to. I'm not sure about that part of the market.
Hopefully what it will mean by opening up, it will mean that the lower priced homes will become more prevalent on the market. Right now, that's a market that is really closing down, but hopefully that will be opening up again in the fall when that happens. Right now, of course, as we said earlier, the $1 million homes or the higher market, $600,000, $500,000 homes are selling more rapidly, and even cash buyers are in that market. Investors are in that market. Hopefully, with the opening up, the lower cost market will open up.
It's going to become more and more of a crisis. We have people who can't find single family homes to rent, and the new construction has not been keeping up with the times for many years. There are not enough new homes for people to buy, which is part of the reason we're having this situation in the first place overall.
Yeah, the new homes is still going to continue to be a problem, I believe, because lumber price is so high and other construction costs are way up. So I think that will continue to be a higher market only, not only, but mainly market.
And if you do want new construction, generally you have to move out into the more rural areas.
True.
If you're willing to drive or you don't need to drive, new construction is a good way to get into that house without having to banter amongst multiple offers. It's not nearly the same level of competition. It's so much easier to get a house if you can afford to drive way out in the boondocks.
Yep. Thank you. This has been Deb and Per, locking it in. We can be reached at 253-226-6454. Thank you.
Thanks for locking it in with Deb and Per.